Hey, Tony Gas here. I believe it was last week I did a post to say, you gotta want love for love. And right now we in this movement and it's a lot of people out here that's saying, love doesn't really matter and love isn't really real and a relationship can't just be about love and it gotta be, about a business deal too. It gotta be about other things. And for one, you gotta understand what love is. When you understand that love is all encompassing, when you understand that love is pure, that love is whole, that love is helpful, helping, it's healing, when you understand what love is, that's when you understand that love is what you need in a relationship. Because remember what you've always heard: in order to love someone, you first have to love yourself. So, what does it mean to truly love yourself? Because if you truly love yourself, that means you're working on yourself, mind, body, and spirit. So, if you're working on yourself, mind, body, and spirit, that means that you have confidence and you also have humility, you have ambition, you have goals because you love yourself. So, if you love yourself, then that means you are bringing something to the relationship. And if you love you, then you're able to love your partner, your spouse. And now, with the two of you loving each other, now you have healthy communication, you have support, you have goals, you have real love that puts you in this state of progression. You're moving forward. You're working on yourself. Your partner's working on him or herself. You're supporting each other. You're going together. Now, with love, imagine when you are operating from love. When you're operating from love, what can't you build? You can build anything from love. See, when you're operating from fear, when you're operating from selfishness, when you're operating from greed, it's hard to build something pure that will be long standing and have longevity. So, what you have to understand is when you are operating from love, then that's when you're going to be in a place and in a space to where now you're able to really build. Now you have stability. And so this is where you want to get to. So when people say, oh, it's not just love, it takes more than love, they're not really processing that true love is all encompassing. Someone said, oh, well, what about your, faith and your like your belief system, your religion and stuff like that? Well, you're not going to love someone intimately who does not have the same foundation of you. So that's neither here nor there. That goes without saying. Like that what's understood does not need to be explained. So when you love yourself, you're going to choose someone that you are equally yoked with. So if you are a Christian and this person you're talking to is not a Christian, meaning that they don't believe that Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, and the life, then you're unequally yoked. So if you love yourself, then you're not going to be with someone that you are unequally yoked with. So therefore, you can love them as a child of God, be nice to them, be kind to them, but you understand that this person isn't the person for you. When you love yourself, you set standards for yourself. And when you set standards, you want to be with someone who has set standards. So if this person has set standards for their life, mind, body, and spirit, hustle and grind, ambition, whatever it may be, then the two of you can come together. You're not going to settle for someone who doesn't have ambition. So at the end of the day, you have love for yourself. You're going in with love. You choose someone that you're equally yoked with. They come in with love. And now love is what sustains you. And love covers a multitude of sin. So when you have love, you can have a partner who is not in the shape that you want them to be in, or like you got them and they were in shape. But then they go through some things in life, some life changes, and now they're not in shape in the sense of they may not have the same body that they had when you met them. But because you love them in their skin. You love them in this new body. Now, because you love yourself and you know what love is, then you know the person you're with that you chose also loves him or herself. So although this person may not be in the same body that you met him or her with, you know that you chose someone who loves themselves. So they're not going to let themselves go completely. Meaning if they have some say-so in it. Sometimes you have health complications and things like that. You don't have a lot of say-so in what your body does when it's just health or genetics or what have you. But in what you can control, you know this person is going to do their absolute best with what he or she can control because you chose someone and you proactively and purposefully and intentionally dated this person. And now people talking about dating ain't real and we need to stop dating. And that is the dumbest thing in the world. I'm talking about the word dating is not in the Bible. Neither is internet in the Bible. Neither is gym in the Bible. It's like we have to use common sense. And it's a whole lot not in the Bible that we got to deal with. Pornography is not in the Bible. You know why? Because they didn't have the internet. But I bet in Sodom and Gomorrah, they had a house in there where people in there doing stuff that you could go pay a little something to go watch it live. And that's why it got burnt down. So you see what I'm saying? So people talking about dating is not in the Bible and all of that. But at the same time, when in the Bible, you still had to be in order. You had to get married before you come together. You still had decent and in order. And it's not a relationship book, so it ain't going to be spelled all out about how long when they were betrothed or betrothed, however you pronounce it, for that 12 months. That's like dating. And so it's like it ain't going to be spelled all out because imagine if you sit down and write your life story. You can't write every little single detail because if you do that, the book gonna be 900 pages long. So that's why we have to use wisdom and discretion. If the Bible tell you God do things decent and in order, and this is of God, then obviously that's going to apply to this day and age and in different cultures. So if you're reading about a culture that it was arranged marriages, then of course it's not going to be dating in the Bible. But if you are a Christian and you're not in a culture of arranged marriages, then you naturally are going to get to know the person because you have free will and you get to choose who you're going to be with. And so here's the thing. We making things more complicated than it is. And this is where we have to understand this. Betrothed. The person to whom one is engaged. An engagement or betrothal is a period of time between a marriage proposal and the marriage itself. During this period, a couple is said to be fiancés, betrothed, intended, affianced, engaged to be married, or simply engaged. And so now I'm looking up to see, and you can search this about the betrothed, BETROTHED, or betrothal, BETROTHAL. And this is the thing what it's talking about, where in the Bible times, the Bible covers a broad section of history's timeline, since Bible history spans several thousand years and a number of cultures. Through those years and those cultures, betrothal traditions varied. However, some elements of betrothal were consistent throughout. So I say this to say, this is where your discretion comes in, especially to, Bible reading, believing Christians. If that's not you, then you use your own common sense or what have you. But you got to remember what's important. You got to have love. You got to have love for something to work, and you got to have common sense for something to work. And you cannot come into this world where they just throwing you to the wolves and they saying, don't date. This love stuff ain't real. What you bring to the table? What do I bring to the table? What kind of job you got? What kind of job do I have? What's your credit score? What's your credit score? Okay, can we come together and buy a house together, build a business together, have kids together, and be financially stable to raise these kids? No, it got to be more than that. Because if you could get a house together and start a business together, but y'all hate each other, y'all fussing and fighting, y'all cheating on each other, beating on each other, lying to each other, manipulating each other. See, none of those things are a part of love. So you can have a business deal. That's why they say business is business, friends and friends, and don't put the two in the same sentence. That's what they trying to tell you is that in business, you do business and you could hate this person because it's about money. They trying to tell you that business is business. It ain't about friends. So it's just like when you look at the NBA and you look at this NBA, boom, this player on this team, he done bought a house. He got his whole family there. He done moved his mama into town. He done moved daddy into town, assistant in the town, chef in the town. He walked to the arena one day, punching his code. Access denied. Access denied. He calls, hey, what's going on, man? Hey, my code ain't working. The team locker room person, yeah, I'm not sure what's going on. Check with such and such. The GM called the GM. Hey, what's going on? Yeah, unfortunately, you've been traded. What? Been traded? Hey, business is business. Friends is friends. I see NBA players and NFL players and pro athletes all the time talking about they was betrayed by the person and this right. This like, listen, bro, this is a business. And so this is what you got to understand. You don't want to make your marriage a business. It got to be about love. But see, this is what you have to understand is when you have love. When you have love, now you can build business. So me and my wife, as an example, come together. We get together. We in college. We get married. I'm working a job making $20,000 a year. She come get on the same job. She probably at $30,000 a year. I don't even know if she work a full year. She get pregnant. We have our son. She start working. I'm working, making 20. I'm getting 10 from school, so I'm at 30. She getting 20 from school, so now our household is at $50,000 a year. We have $50,000 a year. We live in an apartment that costs $835 a month. It's a 2-bedroom. I think it was 2 bathrooms. And it got a gate. The gate didn't work. And it was wood. So it didn't look too structurally sound. And I got my car stole out of the parking lot. And so this is the kind of place we living in. It creak when you walk, and the steps look like they had termites in them. The steps outside that you come up to go into our apartment, and had a little wood balcony out on it. And so that's where we living at. No living room furniture, no couch, no TV, no coffee table, just a crib in my son's room, and then a $99 bed for the frame, the bed, the bed frame, the mattress, $99. Got like a $50 TV from my wife's dorm room. Big body TV, with the big back on it, and one flat screens, and I'm driving an Impala, paying $300 a month. She's in a paid for Honda Civic that her dad bought her in high school. So that was our life. Fake Coach purses, $30 Coach purse from the swap meets. Fake Louis purses, $30, $40 from the swap meets. Fake Louis shoes for me, $100 from a homeboy, come out of China. And that's how we living. $10 jeans, $15 jeans, just humble living. Just humble living. But you know what? I really love her personality. She really loved my personality. I love her conversation. She loved my conversation. I love her company. She loved my company. And we built on love. We built on love and friendship, meaning that we truly like each other. We love each other's company and conversation. So we built on love. So guess what? I done gained 40 pounds. She still treat me the same. She still treat me the same. Her body has changed. I still treat her the same. Somebody calling me. And so this is what you have to understand. When you build on love, you can weather the test of time. But if you come in and you do a business deal, what's going to happen when there is no love? When you don't even really like this person? If you don't like this person or love this person, then what's going to happen when things change? And look at this. Arranged marriages were common in Bible times. And it was possible that the bride and groom might not even know each other until they met at the wedding ceremony. See what I mean? The Bible was not written in America. It ain't based in America. It ain't based in Canada. So we can't take and say, oh, because the word dating isn't in the Bible, we're not supposed to date. Just because we're in a different culture. We're in a different time period. This is why the Bible say to serve God in spirit and in truth, because you got to use wisdom. That's why Proverbs tell you to ask for wisdom so that you understand how to apply the word to your life. It's not going to have the same application. It ain't going to have the same application in every situation, because you got different time periods, you got different customs, you got different cultures. So this is where godly wisdom comes in. And with godly wisdom, he's going to give you peace on this. So it will be very ignorant for us to say dating is not necessary. Dating is necessary because you need to know the person before you give your life to this person. Because when you get married, that's why you could leave in dating. But it's important that you know the difference between dating. So people will say, well, if you date and then if you don't like this person, you just leave and then you take that same habit into marriage. No, there's a difference between dating and marriage. In dating, you don't have to go to the courthouse and fill out paperwork and have a ceremony where you vow before your spouse and before God that you will love them in sickness and in health, for better or worse, until death do you part. So what does common sense tell you then? Common sense will tell you then that dating is not a covenant. Dating is a period that you get to know a person to decide if you should go into covenant. But now when you go into covenant, you now understand, what does covenant mean? So this is where wisdom, knowledge, understanding, discretion. So now you understand, okay, what does covenant mean? And so when you look into this, now you're able to say an agreement. What does say? An agreement, usually formal, between two or more persons to do or not do something specified. Law, an incidental clause in such an agreement. Ecclesiastical, a solemn agreement between the members of a church to act together in harmony with the precepts of the gospel. So now when you understand covenant in marriage, now you start to realize this is an agreement. Now you have agree by lease, deed, or other legal contract. That's the verb. The noun is an agreement between them, and they're using a sentence. So in dating, you are not going into a covenant. Dating is simply talking to someone, getting to know them. That's why you should not be joining your bodies in dating, because when you join your bodies in dating, you're doing things that could have lifelong consequences. So when you join your bodies, you can get up with an STD or you can get up with a child. Those things will be there for life. So therefore, if you have not entered into a covenant with someone that says until death do us part. Now, people say, well, marriage has no guarantees. That is the point of dating, so that you know this person has your values, that this person has your belief system. So this is how you assure yourself in marriage that you can make it until death do us part, because you took your time by dating this person. You get to have hundreds of conversations or thousands of conversations. And by talking to a person this long, for a year, year and a half, 2 years, you now know how this person thinks, how they process, how they resolve conflict, how they deductive reason, how they critically think. So now you know this person's morals, their values, who they are, and what they want. You see if this person is a free spirit and promiscuous, or if this person values relationship, covenant. And so now you get to really process this. So when you get with someone and you see that they are confident enough to let you go off into the world by yourself, go to the mall, do your thing, and not follow you, stalk you, harass you on the phone and all of that, or you're willing to get to that point, because I wasn't there. I had to get to that point. That's why my wife left me, because we weren't equally yoked. She was comfortable with me going to the mall, and I wasn't comfortable with her going to the mall. I'm like, where you at? Who you with? What you doing? And so now, rightfully so, we also were not mature enough yet to be open and honest with each other about our dealings and about other friends and exes, other opposite sex, and things of that nature, those friends that you have. And so we had to get to that point. And so this is what dating allows you to do. It allows you to establish yourself. It allows you to express yourself. It allows you to compare notes. It allows you to let your priorities or your standards be known. And it gives you the opportunity to send a message by cutting it off and say, hey, we gotta end this, or we gotta take a break, because we're not seeing eye to eye to this, and you're not hearing me, and you're not growing, you're not changing. And so I gotta pull back. That's what dating allows you the opportunity to do. And this is where you work out those kinks, so that when you get married, when you enter into covenant, you don't need to take break after break after break, because you use dating for that. But you were progressing in dating. You were not stagnant or complacent or going backward. You were moving forward intentionally and purposefully. So now when you get married, you've worked through the kinks. And now you have a genuine love for your spouse, because you have fallen in love with his or her personality, with his or her mindset, with his or her ambition, with his or her heart. So the little things that are differences, if it's not foundational, if it doesn't affect the foundation. Now, here's the thing. This is where love comes in as well. So if there's something that your spouse is doing that could bring harm, that could be, something that is not helpful or beneficial or advantageous to the relationship, when you have love and you've chosen someone who has love, and this person has love and qualities, and they have respect and they have dignity and integrity, then you can say, hey, I would rather you not do this, because this is what can happen, and this will put us at risk. Because you've dated this person and you got to know this person, and you know how they think, how they move, how they act, what they value. Now this person can say to you, oh, okay, all right, I respect that, because you chose someone of character who has respect. So now they say, okay, I respect that. And so now, because they respect that, guess what? With that respect, now this person is going to take and say, okay, I'm going to make that change. And you are willing to give them the time to make that change, because they're actively going to pursue that change. And so at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, is what they're doing or who they are a deal breaker? But it would be better to ask yourself that in dating, where you're being thorough and you're taking your time, than in marriage. Now, if a person was one thing in dating and then they are another thing in marriage, and in marriage they don't change and they won't change, then that is when your dating process, your vetting process was either insufficient, or they tricked you, because they played a role, and they played that role for a year, 2 years, 3 years, and you believed it because you're an honest, trustworthy, and trusting person. So guess what? They played you. That person has to answer to God. So now when you leave that marriage and you get a divorce, that person has to answer to God. And now the question is, well, isn't a divorce a sin? And aren't you in adultery when you are getting divorced? And the answer is, when you read the Bible, it's direct, it's very real. But if at the same time you are serving in spirit and in truth, so you understand that God does not want you to be in something that is breaking you, that is destroying you, that is killing you slowly, because God understands in his word that every man will fall short of the glory of God. So God knows that we will make missteps. We will have mistakes, which is mistakes. So the same way that the Bible tells you that, okay, if you're going into sin by getting a divorce, guess what? Sin is covered. Meaning that if you repent and say, I made a mistake, I have sinned, please forgive me. Forgive me for sinning against you, Lord. Then guess what? That sin is forgiven. It is wiped clean, and the Bible says it is thrown into a sea of forgetfulness and remembered no more. You wash clean, you free. So now you can move forward, knowing with wisdom, knowledge, and understanding that God loves you and that he has forgiven you and he understands you. And this is what you have to understand. You also have to look at the context. So when there was the reason why the divorce laws were written, it wasn't divorce laws, but the reason why that was written in the Bible is because you're building a faith. They were building a faith that people were being killed for. So in this time period, in this context, people are being killed for their faith. At this time, women have no rights, no say-so. What God was trying to get his apostles to do was to create men of valor, to create Christian men who would not just wake up and say, I'm done with my wife. I want me a new piece of booty. I'm gone. No, because you can't build a faith and you can't be an example in this world, in this culture, when Jesus has been crucified and Christianity is this small little, group, organization, culture, subculture, trying to grow, trying to build. And you got the men sleeping all around. You got the men getting married in the court of law, a covenant before all their friends, family, and in the name of God, and then getting bored with the vajay and waking up, oh, I want something new. Miss New Booty, I found you. And so now you got Bubba Sparks in the Bible finding new booty, and now he hollering about he's a Christian. That's why God instructed the apostle to write that instruction, to say, stay in this here marriage. And don't be just waking up on no whim, unless you were physically cheated on, unless your partner committed adultery. Now, see, this the thing. Everything is not spelled out. And that's why you have to use wisdom. Everything is not every single. What does the Bible say about online dating? Nothing. What does the Bible say about pornography? Nothing. Where is the word masturbation in the Bible? Nowhere. So what do you use? Wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, serving God in spirit and in truth. So when the Bible talks about lasciviousness, and you look up the word lasciviousness definition, feeling or revealing an overt and often offensive sexual desire. They use it in a sentence. This definitely, he gave her a lascivious wink. So the Bible speaks against lasciviousness. But in that time around Sodom and Gomorrah time, when these immoral acts, and it talks about men lying with men and women lying with women, and these immoral acts, and it being an abomination to God, and you read about these things, and you see this. So now you say, well, okay, and the Bible tells you that if a man lusts in his heart, that he's already committed adultery. So if you say, well, okay, if I'm doing this to myself and I'm in a relationship, but in order to do this, I got to picture another person to get a little frill, then guess what? You sinning because you committing adultery in your heart. So that makes your act of masturbation a sin. You see what I mean? Spirit and truth, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. That's what you asking. That's what you seeking God for. So in this time where it says only physical, only physical cheating is grounds for divorce, that obviously lets you know that was allowed. But the Bible tells you to obey the laws of the land. That is why when they went and tried to trip Jesus up and said, what you think about paying taxes? What you think about us paying taxes? Romans 13:2. Obey the government, for God is the one who has put it there. There is no government anywhere that God has not placed in power. So those who refuse to obey the law of the land are refusing to obey God, and punishment will follow. Romans 13:1-2 and 1-2. And so now if physical violence is a crime, when you make a covenant that says you will protect, you will love, you will serve your spouse, sickness and in health, for better or worse, rich or poor, and now in your marriage, you break the law by punching your spouse. You have now committed assault and battery. So now what that means is, to the law, to the covenant that you have vowed to, you have been unfaithful. So now unfaithfulness encompasses physical, emotional, financial, social abuse. Because to abuse based on your vows is not love. Abuse is not a language of love. So if you are being abused in your marriage, you now have grounds for divorce under God. But in order to understand that, you have to have wisdom and knowledge and use discretion, serving God in spirit and in truth, so that you are not trapped by your misinterpretation of the written letter, which was written for a time and a people in a culture where things were legal that are no longer legal in your government, in your law. Do you see what I'm saying? And see, this is where people get so caught up. And the reason why people will trap themselves in a marriage is because deep down, they don't want to leave. And people will use scripture. Oh, you twisting scripture. Oh, you this and that. Oh, you this and that. Well, guess what? If it is a sin to divorce someone for abuse, then guess what? sin is forgiven. If you repent with real remorse in your heart, and you know you not just leaving this marriage because you woke up bored, you know you leaving this marriage because the vows that y'all committed to are not being honored by your spouse, then God knows that too, because God is all knowing. And you can't let ignorant people trap you in a business deal that is disadvantageous to your life and to your health. Because God will never sentence you to be trapped by the letter of the law that come out of your mouth when he tell you anyways that you don't have the power to change not one hair on your head, not to add an inch to your height, that you can't predict tomorrow. So yes, you made a covenant. You made a covenant. But if the covenant is broken and the vows are not upheld, then that means your spouse has been unfaithful to the covenant, which is grounds for divorce. So when people say marriage don't have any guarantees, you're right. So your guarantee comes by using wisdom, knowledge, understanding, and discretion, patience. See, you got to put it together. The Bible say, be anxious for nothing. Be in haste for nothing. Don't rush nothing. So you're dating. Oh, we got married in 6 weeks. You rushed that. Oh, we got married in 6 months. You rushed that. Now you took a gamble and it could work out, but that's not wisdom. That's not wisdom. Oh, they not necessary. We don't need to. We just need to look at our stats. No, that's what a GM does in the NBA. He look at the stats. He look at the numbers. Marriage is not a business deal. Marriage is not a business transaction. Your heart has to be in it. And when I say heart, I don't mean literally. I mean your mind, meaning wisdom, knowledge, understanding has to be utilized in marriage. So you got to take your time. You got to get to know this person. You got to go through the process. And when you get to know if this person is for you, now you take and you make the move. But see, if we would practice patience, if we would pray for wisdom and utilize wisdom, if we would ask for discretion, then now we will be able to recognize a narcissist if we are in the presence of one. By spiritual truth, by wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, by being patient, by taking your time, all of these narcissistic traits that everyone is talking about, those traits will be shown. They will show themselves, and you won't have peace because the person won't be able to hide forever. They won't be able to hide for long. That's how the person could even be diagnosed if by you or by an actual doctor, is because the traits have to be there. The traits got to show themselves for this person to be what everybody is using right now, narcissistic. The person has to have some traits. It got to show it. It might not have every single trait. Every human might have at least one of the traits, but it's going to be a combination of them traits. And guess what? In due time, you're going to see the traits. And because that's how you ever find out about it, whether that's 1 year in, 2 years in, 3 years in. And then the macro, to the macro, there's a micro. So therefore, if a person exhibits this behavior on a large scale that is very detrimental, guess what? There's a minuscule, a micro aggression of that macro aggression. So now on the very minuscule scale, it may be verbal lashings, verbal control. It may be mental manipulation. And then that turns into you literally having to have your outfit approved by your spouse before you step out of the house. You literally having to be on FaceTime the entire time you're out and about so that he or she can see any and every interaction you have, or you literally have to be on the phone the entire time you're out and about. And so that may be the macro, but the micro may be just a little slick comments that you kind of sweep under the rug. Now picture a rug, and now picture stuff being swept under it every day. Eventually you have a mound. Eventually you're going to trip over that. And if it got a smell to it, eventually it's going to be putrid and it's going to stink. So you see what I'm saying? You have to have love. That's why the Bible says that charity is the greatest gift. Charity is love, the greatest gift given to mankind. You gotta have love, because we're not in, now if you're in a culture of arranged marriage, then that's a different culture. So it's going to apply differently. Americanized relationship advice may not be applicable in certain parts of the world because it's a different government. So in this government in America, adultery is a crime. It's a sin. It's against the marriage laws. There's punishment for adultery in certain states. And so in your government, which may be state, based on your state, you have to be in right standing with the governmental laws in order to be in right standing with God. And then God has laws that says fornication is a sin. And so if fornication is a sin, that means if you want to have sex, you have to be married to be in right standing with God. And then adultery is a sin. And adultery is against the marriage vows that you vow to your state under God. So if you commit adultery, that's grounds for divorce in your state and under God. So you have to understand. So when you put all this together, you now realize you have to date. You have to date with intention and purpose. You have to be patient. You have to use wisdom, knowledge, and discretion to understand what you are doing. What is dating? What is marriage? What is a healthy man? What is a healthy woman? What is love? Okay? And how does this look under God, in covenant with your spouse under God? And when are you allowed to get a divorce based on your laws that you are adhering to and your relationship with God and what God wants for your life in the ordering of your steps? So it's not just cookie cutter and just pinching from here, pinching from there, pinching from there. You got to have context. You got to understand the context of which you live by. You got to have context. You got to have a complete understanding. And so that is why love is necessary in marriage. And that is why dating is necessary to a relationship before a marriage, so that you know who you're getting ready to get in bed with and who you are vowing your life to until death does you part. It would be very ignorant and ill-advised to vow your life to someone that you have not dated, that you do not really know. Do you understand? And it would be very unwise to vow your life to someone until death does you part just for the sake of money and credit score, so that y'all can have a nice house with a savings and your kids go to a good school and you're financially stable. That's not important. Like that on when it comes to life, like money and all of that, That's fleeting. That's it. You can have all the money in the world and it don't solve your problems and you still unhappy. You can have no money and be the happiest person on the face of the earth. So if you marrying because you want a white picket fence, huh? So you about to put up with a whole human for financial stability when you could get that on your own? When a trade or a degree? Do you know that fishing is a trade? And do you know it's people who fish and they get credit and get a real job, and with their credit they go buy a fishing boat and they pay for the monthly payment through their real job, and then on the weekends they charter the boat and they charge $500 for 4 hours and they make $1,000 before tips on Saturday and Sunday, and they make $2,000 a week with 4 weekends to 5 weekends in a month. So they're making $8,000 to $10,000 a month. And after doing that for 3 months, 4 months, they got a year's salary put up in the bank. So then they quit their job and now they can do it 7 days a week. Do you realize that fishing is a trade? And then that single man or that single woman now can afford to take care of their life, can buy a house, can buy a car. Do you know you can have financial stability by yourself? Do you know as single mothers who are millionaires through YouTube, through coaching, through speaking, through credit repair, through real estate? Do you realize that? So you telling me you fixing to forego dating or rush dating, compare notes on credit score, income, and get married to someone in a business transaction just so y'all could produce kids but have no love between each other? How demonic does that sound? Listen to, if somebody tell you that all this love stuff is overhyped and you don't need love for no marriage, you need to see what I bring to the table, what you bring to the table, and we come together and we have kids and we do this thing as like a business deal based on what we bring to the table financially and resourcefully and based on connections. Do that sound like a plan of God or a plan of the devil? Because if all you joining forces for is to join bank accounts, that means you love money. And what does the Bible say about the love of money? Not money, because the Bible says money answereth all things. But what does the Bible say about the love of money? It's the root of all evil. So if you getting with somebody just because y'all match up on paper, you're doing a business deal. You're doing a business transaction. So guess what? There's no friends in business. But see, with love, with pure true love, there are friends. Do you stab your friend in the back? No, because that's your friend and you love your friend. But will you stab a business partner in the back? Absolutely, if you're a person that do business without love. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, it ain't so many ways. It ain't, how many ways can this be spelled out? So what I need you to understand is two sides. It's this side over here who working for God, who adhering to God and the ways and the teachings and the laws of God. And then it's this side over there. They don't really acknowledge God, don't really live for God, don't really believe in God, like don't really put too much on God. And they doing things the opposite way. But see, guess what? The devil has dominion on the earth. Meaning that when Jesus was finna leave, he said, I'm about to leave and turn this back over to who it belongs to. He talking about the devil. Read the Bible. For those of y'all who don't believe that, read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John and see what Jesus said. And so He letting you know that the media, the news, the TV shows, the music industry, he letting you know this stuff controlled by evil forces. This stuff controlled by the adversary. So this stuff gonna take precedent. It's gonna have dominion over the world. And you got to call on me. He said, if you call me, I'm gonna come. If you invite me into your heart, that's where I'm gonna live. That's what he said. So as the people over here, it's just about business. It's just about money. It's just about the look. It's about the White House with the white picket fence and the Range Rovers and the 401k and the stock portfolio and the kids in private school and the grandkids got an inheritance and all of that, right? It's about business. It's about financial stability. And then you got these over here who rock with the Lord, who say love is the greatest gift given to mankind. It's about love. And love is peace and prosperity. It's about wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. It's about patience. It's about temperance. It's about character. It's about integrity. And guess what, my friend? If you have all of those things, guess what? You're going to have everything else. Eventually, you're going to have everything else. So guess what? It ain't nothing that a person in the world got that I want that I don't have. Nothing. Yeah. You know why? Because I got Christ. Because I'm centered. Because I have love. I have peace. I have prosperity because I have love, which produces peace. That then produces prosperity, which then produces joy and happiness. Listen to me. Shando, you better be glad I don't speak in no tongues now. I'll be over here speaking in tongues. Do you hear me? So I'm trying to tell you that these people in the world is selling you a nightmare disguised as a dream, wrapped in shiny paper with a nice bow on the top, and they making it sound like that it makes sense. That's what they doing. You know why? It's because they work for the devil, who comes to steal, to kill, and to destroy. So what happens to a human who goes into a relationship on the precipice of business? Now, I don't know if precipice is a word. It just sounded good right there, and I want to put it right there now. And so I just like the way that, what did I say? A very steep rock face or cliff, especially a tall one. Okay, that's finna fit then. That's gonna fit. Cause you finna go onto a cliff in marriage on business. But guess what? If business is business and friends, and you should never put the two in the same sentence. If dating is not important, if people didn't date in the old days, if people didn't date in the Bible days, and because they was in another country with arranged marriages, oh, we forgot to mention that. That's why they didn't date. Because they were slaves and they trying to have some type of stability. That's why they didn't date. They were slaves. They needed to reproduce. Some of them reproduced with a gun to the head by the master because the master needed the generation to continue so he could have slaves. That's why they didn't date. When they got freed from slavery, they probably didn't date because they need to build. They needed financial, economic stability because they just come out of slavery. So you got to stop putting different contexts onto your context. You don't need nobody for financial stability in this day and age because you got everything at your fingertips. You can make $1 million in a day selling weave, selling makeup, selling Miracle Growth drops for the hair, selling waist trainers, $1 million in 30 minutes. You don't need nobody for financial stability. What you need somebody for is love, companionship. You don't need them for love. You need them for companionship. But you want your companionship to be in love, not in business transaction. You want it to be relational, not transactional. Come on now. Come on now. Come on now. Hey, do you work for BET and you done watch this whole thing? Do you work for MTV? You done watch this whole thing? Send me an email and talk to the network and ask them what it's going to cost me to put this on there, MTV, VH1, BET for an hour every night for a year. I raise the money. Ask them what it's going to cost me to get this here hour straight. Or this here, whatever it is. I'll pay. You don't need advertisements because I'll pay for the space. What it's going to take to get a whole hour. Hey, let me go so this hour could fit on there. God bless you. We'll talk soon.